man don't know shit. My friends, how you doing? I hope you're doing great. Can't wait to hear from you. I'm back. Took a break. I had shit to do. Sometimes you gotta do shit to produce shit. And, you'll be seeing some good shit soon enough. I can't wait to share it with you. And so let's call this season 2. I mean, we could turn around and do another podcast tomorrow, call it season 3. Doesn't really matter. But, I just mean for organizational purposes, let's call it season 2. Today's gonna be cool. I get to hang out with an old buddy, Mr. Eric Bed, DJ Punk-Ass Bed. He's been in this game for 13 years now with Prescription Punk Rock Radio, radio shows, web shows, podcasts, all kinds of stuff. And, we've hung out at so many shows over the years, always a great vibe. So this will be interesting. And I think what we're going to do is take this podcast and put it on both shows and release it at the same time, just for shits and giggles, because you know what? We're adults. We're allowed. All right. There's a PayPal link under here if ever you want to support the show in that fashion. It's always appreciated. And let's do this. All right. Eric Bed, DJ Punk-Ass Bed. Fuck, 13 years of Prescription Punk Rock. Tu as aussi Radio Punk Rock, right? Or Punk Rock Radio as well. You've been, I've seen you at shows since at least 13 years, man.
Yeah, I'm that old.
No, but it's awesome, man. You're involved on all kinds of levels. But actually, it's funny. One thing I think we should do here is, because even for me, it wasn't totally clear. Okay, you have Prescription Punk Rock, and that is a radio show and a YouTube podcast show as well, right?
Yeah, not really. It's weird way it became like a podcast for people, because they take the interview as a podcast thing, like I would say Joe Rogan. And right. But it's not really. The thing is that with the pandemic, it seemed that people have more time. So the interview was way longer than back in the days when we saw each other at festival and everything. We did 15 minutes, 20 fast, interview, and that was cool. But now people have time, so it became an hour and a half. So with the radio show, it's not possible to play the whole interview. So the YouTube channel came, and it's a good way for people to listen to the whole thing and get the whole vibe of the interview, which is more interesting. But still, we play the best part on the show.
Yeah, no, it's super cool because it wasn't totally clear. But you're still also doing a punk rock at Radio.ca, right?
Yeah, they play the show on Tuesday. 8 p.m. like they played the last show I did, because we're on CKRL, and that's the thing. A lot of people think it's a podcast show, but we're live in a studio in CKRL, and the station is it's been running since more than 40 years, and it's the first francophone station in Quebec that was not government. Radio Canada had the first one, but CKRL was the first one, and it was really to support culture. And now the new vibe, it's really to rebuild culture. My phone is getting down.
Yeah, that happens to me all the time. Like, if anybody saw what goes on here, it's so ghetto. It's so ghetto, man. I love it. So yeah, okay. So you have Punk Rock Radio. That's on the radio station. Prescription Punk Rock it's like a web radio as well, right?
No, it's we're a show, and we're broadcast on CKRL 89.1
as well.
But it's play on punkrockradio.ca, which regroup like the old scene, the podcast, and another show like me, which Emily Plamondon hosts, called Punk Détente. So we're kind of
Emily.
Yeah, hello, Amy. And she's also playing in 50 Shades of Punk, but everybody knows that now.
Yeah, man.
It's cool because we're doing kind of the same thing, and we have the support of a radio station. So we're kind of lucky because we're in the studio and we have, casting material. It sounds way better than what I did through the pandemic, because at some point the radio closed for a couple of months. So I was doing the radio show here. So I have to buy stuff to to broadcast, but I failed. It was cheap and it didn't sound that well. So hey, if I want to say about it, pay more than your budget. But if you want to invest in something, it's don't go with the cheaper.
Yeah, man. Wait a minute. There, one thing that's really cool though is 13 years. It's the anniversary, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Of the show. So I got myself a Bose here. Cheers, brother.
Yeah.
See, this is sponsored by A&W as well. Yeah, man.
Yeah, the glass is so cool. But yeah, Bose, great people. I love them. They're always been supportive of the radio show and the Trou du Diable too, and we love them. We love microbrewery, so it's another thing we enjoy.
Absolutely.
My next beer, it's gonna be from Raw Buck. I love them so much.
Ah, cool.
It's a beer with honey and flower of hibiscus. Is that the same in English?
Cool. Absolutely, ça même chose, complètement. Cool. Yeah, but it's true. Like the companies like Bose, like moi j'aime le lug tread là. But les microbrasseries, ils semblent vraiment aller dans la musique, hein? Comme les festivals, ils sponsor ça. Like one thing that Bose does that's super cool. Like I know at Pouza Fest and other places as well, they have a trailer, right? That's like all taps and stuff on it. It's like basically a mini bar on a trailer, right? That shows up at the festivals. It's fantastic. But I really like their implication. It's super great.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think, the first time I went to Bose in person was before a rock fest. And we spent a couple of hours there, and the staff know the show and they recognize me. And it was crazy because the main thing of the brewery is to bring people that love beer, but also people that love music. So they're really supportive to band. One guy from the Flatliners, I don't know if he still worked there, but he worked there for a while, and a lot of people in the scene have worked there, and they are helping financially the band, and of course giving them the holy beverage. And
yeah, man. What's really cool about Bose, actually, because it's in Vankleek-Hill, Ontario, right? C'est vraiment proche. You have Grenville, Hawkesbury, Vankleek-Hill, and the Band Brewery. I know how to get there. I can get there fucking blind, man.
Because it's a running gag with my girlfriend with Grenville. I don't know what's about the city, but since the name is funny to say in French, we always stop there to put gas to get back. And it's not on the road. I have to make a turn to go there, but it's Grenville. I have to go to Grenville.
It's funny parce que pour tous les écouteurs de ton programme de prescription à punk rock, ils comprennent exactement qu'est-ce que tu dis. For all the English people watching Cayman in the 45s right now, basically, if you translate that, it means Dickville.
Yeah, it's yeah, I'm still a teenager when it comes to.
Well, yeah, if somebody says penis, everybody laughs, right? That'll never change. But it's funny.
I'm really huge fans of weird town name.
And there's a lot of them. Yamaska every time you drive by, right? But I grew up with the guys that started Bose, so it's knowing them. It's not surprising because they grew up in Vankleek-Hill, right? And that's where I grew up as well.
And, wow, I didn't know that. So you grew up there, and it's a really small town. So for
they have a traffic light. They have one traffic light. If you're really cool, you can stand beside it, But actually, the cool thing about out there, and especially in that time you were talking about Bose, but the Steve Beauchesne, he's also the singer of Audio Visceral as well, right?
Yes.
And they always hire a lot of friends, and all the friends happen to be musicians, and amongst all kinds of other cool friends as well. But that's why they're so implicated in the music, because out there when we grew up, like everybody, would hang out around like everybody's bands at house parties and stuff, or you'd practice and your friends would be there, or you would like leave the window of the high school open on Fridays so you could take the PA and go do shows with your friends, Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Wow.
This happened like all the time.
It was impossible in Quebec to do that. It's not a big city, but still a city. It was the kind of thing that was kind of impossible, but that's beautiful. Actually, when I go to town like that, I'm just like curious how it was for a kid to grow up every time, because I came from a town where there was a lot of things to do, but when you grow up there, it's and it's normal that there's a lot of musicians. A lot of people say we didn't have a lot of things to do, so we're playing music and go, walk outside because there's a beautiful place to walk in the wood. And
yeah, man, and like there is something true to that as well. I mean, like when I think about growing up, we didn't have these cell phones, smartphones everywhere. And not every kid was on their phone for 24/7, So you'd actually call somebody up, or you would just drive to somebody's house without calling too, and just go knock on the door and say, "Hey, what you up to?" You know what I mean? Like we did that all the time. So basically, in high school, the Peelers on Stomp Records as well.
Yes.
Okay. So there was me, Stu that works at Bose. We always played music with our crew. There's Dave Barton from the Peelers and Eric Diamond from the Peelers and a bunch of other guys. The guys from Audio Visceral, Sam Parent as well, and a bunch of us. So we all had kind of like, different bands and hangouts. Like we used to practice in a fucking barn when we were kids, man. No shit, like straight up in the fucking barn. I love it, they play some punk rock in the barn. We had like old cow skulls on the walls and shit like that, but out in the country, that was normal. And then you'd have parties and the bands would play at the parties. Then it would be bigger rassemblement, you know what I mean? And that's how we grew up, and it's fantastic. And out there, a lot of people say like, in the country, sometimes there's less things to do, but you know what? There's also something about creativity. I find one thing with this generation right now, with everybody anytime somebody's bored right now or takes a break, what's the first thing they do? They check their messages. Everybody does it, right? But I wonder sometimes if people are getting bored enough to come up with new ideas and be creative or join bands and stuff like this, because I don't know, I feel sometimes it's best to slow down to produce something meaningful. And I think out in the country, that's why there's so many bands that come from outside the cities and then they come to the cities.
And the thing is, if you ask me where the best microbrewery out there, it's, in the country. People, and you get to be creative, like you said, and you have to do it way better than people in town and everything to get recognition and everything. So yeah, I think so. And it's always the same, in Quebec, there's a lot of people that came from Saguenay, that came from Beauce, and they're all creative and they take all the possibilities that the city offer to them. And there's people that live in the city and that don't take those, don't realize that because you grow up with that. It's really interesting. And I think you're right too. I think with the pandemic and everything, people will get more creative. And when you get something that bad and a huge hit, there's always something positive that will reborn for that. And as you know, and I'm sure we spoke about that, we need a new generation of headliner, new band to take the lead of the scene, because a lot of bands gonna disband through the next 5 to 10 years. So festival and everything, it was always the same name going through 5-6 years nonstop. So I think it's going to be interesting to see our original and our creative, the people that organize festival and shows, gonna have to bring people.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's true, like with the pandemic, because I think for some bands, it could either go one way or the other. Some bands broke up. I did a solo acoustic show last week, and the band that was supposed to play before me broke up like the day before or the day of even. But like coming out of the pandemic, some people
they didn't play for a year and a half and they have to broke up before a goddamn show.
Man, exactly. And we're talking like hours before, Yeah, exactly. But I think the pandemic, you're gonna see some bands that like really got together and created and did stuff, and other bands that just slowly did, broke up or did other things, because I've definitely seen it go both ways.
It's like a purge. Is that the right word in English?
Yeah,
like a purge. And like
people... Porge is actually purge and porge. Porge, you eat. It's like, warm cereal.
No.
It's not that. But you said that, and I'm a bit high, so I'm like, man, I could go for a bowl of porge
more
right
like,
now.
when a bomb happened, and then the people that were not there for the right reason or were tired and everything just leave the scene, and it just bring new people and new kids, and it just get excited again. I think that's what's going to happen through the next 2 to 5 years, you know.
Absolutely.
We're at a point that people's going to need excitement and be happy and just enjoy the moment.
And doing things where there are people, you know. I mean, it's starting, it's baby steps. I mean, I can't believe we've already done 5 shows because like we were ready, eh? Like, oh yeah, man, fucking right, man, fucking right. Hey, I couldn't believe it. But you know, it was like we knew, like, you know, when places were starting to book, that we would book and sometimes it would get canceled. Like we booked some shows before the 5 that we did, and you know, they didn't happen because we knew that as soon as the pandemic was over, every single band in the goddamn world is going to be booking a show, right?
Yeah.
You know, so we're booked up pretty much for the rest of this year now. But I think people are coming out of the pandemic, like, you know, some bands might come out wounded again, but they'll probably heal and go on and do some beautiful things, and other bands are just chomping at the bit ready to fucking attack, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you see it both.
Yeah. But you know, I think for the punk rock, ska, or hardcore scene, the underground scene, it was less it in a way because a lot of people have work. There's not much of you, you know, that can tour all years and, you know, keep the thing going. A lot of people think it's kind of impossible still, but for those who do, like the Gutter Demons, you guys, and a couple of bands, it's way more harder. You know,
Yeah,
it's
man.
way more harder because it is, you know, it's what you're doing. But a lot of band, you know, had day job and everything. So for a lot of them, it was not the same reality than band like, I don't know, Lagwagon, who lived from that, you know, and now they have to find new way to make money.
Well, I think it's all part of, you know, I mean, like there's the reason, by the way, I started giving my finger, it's like fucking in my head, it's like, fuck that, nothing's going to stop us. You know what I mean? Like, that's my mentality. So it's like, sometimes you got to get it into you, you know, and it's like, how many times during the pandemic, you know, you kind of, oh man, are we ever going to jam again? Are we going to make a new record? Are we going to get back on tour? You know, what are we going to do? So man, that's why I just kind of developed along the way. Like, you know, a lot of shit was going bad for a lot of people, including myself. But, you know, you build up this attitude. It's like, fuck you. Fuck you, man. I'm coming, you know.
That's the Cayman spirit, man. Never give up that fight.
We just recorded like 14 or 16 songs. Like, they're not finished. Or like, we're in the process. It'll come out next year. But there's one song on there. It's called This Finger. And it's kind of like that, you know. It's like, fuck it, man, we're coming. That's why, like, you know, everybody's like, man, you've already done a show. I'm like, we've done 5 so far, you know.
But you're right, you know. But I think, you know, one thing that you can control, and that bad happen, you need to have that positive mind and just try to create something good from it. And I can't wait to hear the new songs come. I'm sure it's gonna be, you know, it's always, every record, it's always getting better. You're one of those bands. There's band that started up, first records, bang, second record, boom, and then third, fourth, and they get lost in the process. But for you guys, it's different. The first record was amazing, but you know, every step, it's always just like, whoa, it blew mine. And the last record was the thing. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be really interesting and then different, original in your way. So it's exciting to hear that.
Yeah,
but
that's the effect, though, right? With the pandemic, I mean, people like you, people like me, like, we also adapt. You know what I mean? Like, anybody that's in anything that works with the public, or shows, or not even outside of punk rock and even rock and roll, stuff like that. But, you know, people that do art, or theater or whatever, you know, and all the production people and the people that write about these things and make it interesting for people to hear about them. It affected everybody, all the people that work in these places as well, you know? It's like, that's where you really find out, like, you know, some people will drop out of this game, and that's okay. You know, they're going to move on with their lives and all that kind of thing. But that's where you just see also, it's like, you know, who's in it for life, you know what I mean? Or doing it for whatever reason they've chosen to do it. It's going to be interesting, man. That's for sure this year.
Like, you know, you and I were driving people. I know I'm going to do this forever. And when you know that, it's always surprising to see people that, like, wow, man, I am impressed. 13 years, it's amazing. But as you know, it's a click. It was so fast. So I'm sure it's the same with you.
Well, okay, let's talk about your show for a minute, though. Okay, so how did it all, like, what was the evolution? I mean, here you are today doing Zoom podcasts, you know, or you're doing the, you know, DJing on a radio station, but what was the evolution of it? Like, how did it start? Because, like, you know, everybody has their reasons for doing these things. I have my reasons why I do this. For me, it's, you know, I'm alone up in the mountains during the whole pandemic too. So I was just doing, you know, it was my social time, and it's my time to relax. Like, people are like, man, you drinking and smoking and stuff. I'm like, well, you know, when I'm doing my podcast, usually that's my relaxation time. You know what I mean? Like, it's not my work time, that's for sure.
It's also a therapy.
Yeah, man, absolutely, absolutely. But how did it start? I'm really curious to know kind of the evolution about how this went.
It's really interesting, but it's a long story. I'm gonna try to make the shortcut.
Hey, Evan.
You know, the thing started up with radio, not with punk rock. I got the chance of working in video renting. You know, when people still used
like
to rent
Blockbuster
videotape. Yeah, VHS.
Yeah, man.
We lost a lot of kids.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was working there, and a guy came, and he was finding interesting the way I was, you know, because people ask you what movie I should rent, and I was like, I give them their best. Oh, you should rent that movie because that director and everything. Because I was about to study in cinema, and that's what I did. I studied in cinema. I graduate. I was supposed to go to Montreal and then Toronto, to Concordia, and then Toronto. But I met my girlfriends, rent an apartment, got a kid, and everything changed. So
the kids fell from the sky, right? Cool.
So that guy was asking me to do a chronic about art and talking about shows and everything. So I went there, and it started up as 15 minutes, and then I get in the studio, and it was a show. It was really early in the morning. It was at 5 a.m. It was a 4 or 5 hour show straight. But I get, you know, I really love the vibe of the studio and everything. And maybe you don't know him, but legendary radio star in Quebec that was working there, called André Arthur, which is like a pillar in radio. Like it or not, because a lot of people hate him, but I think he's the first who did the trash talk radio, which was...
Okay, gotcha.
It's the thing now in Quebec with Radio X and everything. But anyways, he got me after a couple of shows in his office, and I'm sure I was like, "You gonna get the fuck out?" I was a kid, and I was smoking weed at 4:30 a.m. before the show, and it was
like
really
smoking
funny
weed. You mean?
for me. Yeah, before the show, and then back in the days, it was like, you know, crazy. But I was a kid. I love weed, so I went to the show like fucking busted, and I think I was the worst. But actually, he said, "You're really good, and you have everything, but you're not doing what you love." So he said, "Find what you love and do a radio show with that." So I stopped doing radio for a couple of months, and one of my friends actually who was at the radio am at CKRL asked me on Christmas, we do like 2 specials on Christmas and on the New Year's Eve. So come by and play punk rock and do whatever you want. So I went there and I went fucking nuts, like yelling, "Hell yeah!" Ah! And like the director of the station called, and he was like, "Who's that fucking crazy kid?" And they said, "Hey, it's Eric," and everything. But at the same time, I spoke with Emily, and she asked me if I want to co-host Punk Détente. So I did it for 2 years. So that's where everything started up with punk rock. It started up with Emily. Emily was doing that for 1.5 years or 2, if I'm right. So she was ahead for me. So I learned a lot from her, and, you know, with the vibe, you know, we bring interview and everything. So it really changed the show and everything. And at some point we realized that we could cover way more by having 2 separate shows. So that's what we did. And I went to CKIA, first of all, because I was not on CKRL. And I went there, I throw the pitch to Prescription Punk Rock. They asked me to come, and like it's an auditions. You go in the studio, everybody's there. They're like 15 people. It's really like, oh my god. And you go like they got the
Were
song.
you high for the audition as well?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it was really
you smoked some weed for the audition?
Yeah,
Good work, man.
Yeah, man. It's kind of normal for me, so it was not the big thing, but yeah, maybe it helped me to calm me down just a little bit. But when I saw everybody in the studio, that was not the thing. One of my friend, and it's Carl, it's a crazy dude. He saw me, entering the studio, so he felt Eric is doing a radio show, so he entered. So, and that guy know every shit story and everything about me. And he was, I saw everybody. I was really nervous. I start up the radio like you do it like it's a full radio. And they pitch it, you're going to do an hour. So I was ready for an hour. I've got my paper with my cue. And I just went. And when they play the first songs, I just see Carl. Oh, what the fuck? What the fuck is doing there, man? You're going to say all the bad shit and it's going to be... So I did another micro and they stopped everything right in the middle. I was, and they said, okay, Eric, you got the show. You're on,
right
on Monday. Tuesday, I think. So that's where Prescription Punk Rock started up in 2008, right after an interview with NoFX, like a week or two right after that. So yeah, and then after that, everything went pretty crazy because with Punk Détente, I started up to make connection through MySpace.
That's right, MySpace. Yeah, man, we lost a couple there. Yeah.
What is MySpace? MySpace was cool.
My safe place.
Because it's I own a lot to MySpace, even if like Facebook and everything, it's shitty people that greedy people that just want the money. But still, it was the first time that the band was behind their kind of website, because MySpace was now the official page for a lot of bands at that time. So when I wrote to No Use for a Name, it was Tony Sly who directly answered me. So that's where I got a lot of connection in the industry. So I've got email, I've got phone, and that's when I started up doing interviews. So
right.
I think through the interview, the show got kind of bigger. But the main thing I think that get Prescription Punk Rock recognition is that we bring a lot of band at some point. We got one time we got 14 band in an hour and a half in the studio.
That's wild.
It was like something like 52 people in the studio, and it was something like 3 minutes straight, like da 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 da, and then another band da da da, and some songs, and yeah, so people got like, that guy is kind of crazy, which is not, because if you see
I think that's super cool though, because you're also bringing in the humanity to the music. I mean, I think, back in the day when people were looking at vinyls and stuff like that, and everybody's kind of imagining like, some vinyls would have artwork and stuff, but everybody does want to know, what did the band look like? They'd look in the back and see if they had pictures of who was in it. Like, you kind of want to put a face to what you're listening to sometimes. I'm not saying it's always good news at the end of the day, but I think there's something, in that people want to do. And just the fact that you got all these people, I mean, that's a lot of bands. Like, I remember hearing about you because probably on MySpace as well, because I'm old enough to have done MySpace, and which actually, that's a question. I wonder if today, if we asked a lot of people, a lot of people aren't happy with Facebook anymore and stuff like that. Like, what would you prefer, MySpace or Facebook, if you asked them today? I wonder. I think the answer would be different than 5 years ago.
Don't say that to anybody. But
right?
Mike, I always have an idea of, if you really connect and do something that, is a mix of Facebook and YouTube, like the video of the band, but you wrote directly to the band and you got the music and everything, there's something there. But it have to, that's the problems with that. It really have to be a platform where if there's money, it goes straight to the band. And if there's extra money, the people behind it got paid a little bit.
Yeah, historically, the bands always get paid last.
Yeah, and who brings the people? Like,
it's like that classic thing of like, it's that classic thing of, you get the bands playing. It's not saying it's good or bad, because everybody's got to get paid and stuff like that. But you're playing. There's 3 punk rock bands, and you know, they might have charged not enough at the door or whatever. So they made, you know, in the night, then they look at their contract. Oh, you mean you have to pay for the promoter's work? Oh, you have to pay for the sound man. By the time, you know, it runs through that, maybe they only made $200 or $300 at the door, but there went all the money. And they're the only ones that don't get paid. You know, the bar staff are getting paid, the production people are getting paid and all that. I'm not saying it's good money for everybody or anything like that, but I have noticed it always, especially when it comes to like the younger bands or, you know, bands that are starting out and are happy to get a show and stuff like that. But it's always the bands that are the last ones down that line to get paid. It's like, how many places back in the day would say, oh, you know, come play for our cause. And that's a fantastic thing to do. And I've done it many times, you know, but it got to a point where I started wondering, like, is it rude to ask, okay, we'll do this free and we're happy to support this cause, but are the bar staff going to be doing it for free too? Is the sound man going to be doing it for free too? Are they supporting the cause? Are you the promoter? You're doing it when, you know what I mean? At one point, I remember that it's like, wait a minute, like if we're all in this together, you know, for a cause, but it's only the bands. I mean, I understand, you know, from one perspective, maybe the bar is like, well, we just don't really, you know, we're not supporting the cause. The cause is on our billboard and stuff, and it's used to bring people, but the cause is just the bands, you know, and stuff like that. But there is something in there. Sometimes I've been in some situation, I'm like, there's just something that smells a little funny in this, you know?
The thing is the business to, you know, because I book shows. I did that. It was good and bad. At the end, we were able to understand it. And when we understand, we said no.
That's it. That's why there's so many hard asses in that business, you know?
Because, you know, we're going to lose money and we're going to gain some. But it's not going to balance at the end.
That's it.
And the thing was, at that point, you know, we booked in 2004, 2005. The scene was really falling apart. The label did put a lot of money in emo. It was crashing down. Everybody was leaving punk rock.
Everybody was crying.
Yeah, everybody was sad. And then,
God damn it.
But a lot of band quit at that time too, and a lot of great band from here. Sub, the Planet Smasher were not full-time band anymore because of Stomp Records, and a lot of things happened. But since the last, you know, 6 to 10 years, it's crazy how it built itself again. And I saw that, and I believe in that so much. But the thing is that if you take it as a business side, you have to own the place, and you have to be the bookers and the people who rent the bar. And you have to take the money from the bar and the beer you sell, maybe sell it a little bit more, which is, okay, people, I know it pisses you off, but that's the thing. It's a business. It's tough to run. And everybody needs to make a little money because they're living through that. So, and the band need to make money. So you have to shortcut people that work there and have a really small team, but you can with, you know, ticket price and, of course, beer. The tickets pay the band. And also people, and I think people are way more aware, and, you know, with the pandemic, they understood how hard the hit was in the scene, and they understood the importance of buying merch. So I think, shirts gonna still sell, and CDs gonna still sell.
And vinyl. Vinyl is gonna sell.
Are selling like crazy. People collector. I am too. And it's driving me crazy. Don't go there.
Yeah, no, right behind me there, you know. But you know, it makes sense though. Like a lot of people, like, you know, because we're selling as much vinyl as we are CDs on the road, and people are saying people are buying CDs. I find it's more surprising actually that people are buying CDs, but I get it too, and it's super cool, you know, for their cars more or less. But I mean, a lot of people.
Everybody say that it's for the car, but
that's the only real reason, right? Because I got
people that are just collect them. They're like, I start a collection with CD. I still go for it. So there's people that still, and I have a CD player right here. I still listen to CDs, but vinyl it sounds way better, but it's more costing. So a lot of people.
But I think there's another reason too. It's like, CD is digital music, like Spotify, like Apple. I'm not saying the sound quality is the same, but it's digital music, all right?
Yes.
And there's so many different ways to listen to it. Some people are just on, iTunes on their computer at home is their sound system, or whatever it is, or maybe it's a Bluetooth system. And, so it's almost easier to use your phone for a lot of people's home life now. Some people like you still have a big stereo with a CD player, and that's fucking cool, and all that. So what I've realized is like the collectors or people that like to have something tangible seem to be buying the vinyls more. And the people that were buying CDs might be using the Spotify's, the Apple, and the iTunes and stuff like that. Mind you, we still do sell CDs. Don't get me wrong. We really do. But I just find it makes sense in a weird kind of way, And plus vinyl, it's a bit bigger too. So it's cooler to look at and hold and feel. And there's something organic about it, but digital music, I don't know, except for the car. Like a lot of people have old cars, I can see the CD in the car. That makes sense to me. I can understand that.
And it's we always with the band talk about vinyl, CDs, or cassette, but we don't talk a lot about the shirts. The shirts are fucking, people love shirts, and it's cool. I love
all my clothes are my friends' bands' shirts. Like, that's how I basically clothe myself,
Yeah, and that's the thing. A lot of people are still buying shirts, which it's another way to really help the band. So I think that
absolutely.
Everybody that goes to show that can do it, because there's people that can afford it, and I understand, but people that can, because we're 40. I have good jobs. I'm living well, so I can't do that. So when I go to a show, I have my drink budget and my music budget, and it's better that I buy the music first than the beer first, because sometimes I'm cutting in budget, and that's not good.
It's so true. How many people I'm gonna, they have the intention that they keep saying, oh, are you gonna be selling stuff after you finish playing, or is somebody selling it while you're playing? Because I don't know, I might start drinking. You know what I mean? It changes everything. But I mean, such is life. Alcohol throughout the ages. Des générations, l'alcool a fait plein de changements de clair.
Yeah, and a lot of people buy merch drunk. I did a lot, and like, did I fucking buy $100 of merch? Wow.
And did I really need these little underwear with the band logo on it?
But that's
the thing.
Yes. It helped the band, and it's really important. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how people gonna consume music and gonna try to help the band. But as you mentioned, there's collectors that still people that want something physical. It's our generation.
Mm-hmm. So getting back to, what's that?
I was about to say, remember the first fucking CD or vinyl you bought? I remember that.
Yeah, I remember I had I remember I was on a trip with my parents. I was young, and I had a little yellow cassette of the Cramps, What's Inside a Girl. It was a 4-song EP. I remember I had that, and I always had that cassette. I was a kid, man. I was loving that shit,
Do you still have it?
No, I wish I did, though.
God damn it, you would be rich.
I know, right? I think my parents threw all that shit out, when I was whatever age. But yeah, getting back to the show, now that you do, like, because I see a few of your podcasts that are on the Prescription Punk Rock, the YouTube channel, and you have a whole bunch of like Zoom style interviews on there, and some of them are super interesting. What's your process to doing that? In the sense, like, I mean, you have to, obviously have a guest to be able to do a podcast. Like, how does that work for you? Do you just call up guests? Do you use Zoom? How does it work?
I use Skype, and it's really Nuclear Blast Records, because that's another thing real quick. The radio show, at some points, we start to have bigger guests. But I hate to say that. I don't take
know what
an
you
interview
mean.
at
More well-known ones.
Yeah. Every interview, I will give every art that I can, because people take time for the show. So, and they bring people that their family, their friends, to listen to the show the day we air the interview. That's how we grow up, by bringing that. I should have said that before. That's why we brought like a lot of band in the studio, because my friends were so supportive at the beginning. Now they don't fucking care. They don't want to hear. They don't see me as a star or anything. They see me as their friend, so they don't want to hear about that. It's like job. Okay, you're cool. You're DJ Punk's band. Fuck the rest. And I'm sure you have a lot of friends as that with the band. That's
Absolutely. Yeah.
and family too. But the thing is, yeah, and people make you grow, and the band make you grow. And the thing is, we got like crossover with metal because a couple of metal bands throw, hey, I want to be on the show, and I'm like, it's a punk rock show, but it's cool. Came from metal scene. When I was a kid, I was a metalhead, and then after high school, I went to punk rock, and every of my friends went to metal, which is fucking funny, but that was the thing. Like,
What was your first step? What was your favorite metal band?
Iron Maiden is my favorite band of all time.
Yeah, man, I love them. I love them. I have a bunch of their vinyl here. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
I have a different trip.
Yeah, I met them actually. They're really cool guys. They're really cool guys. Like when you met your. Anyway, I will not go to Maiden. We have for another hour, but. Yeah, so and the interview came kind of naturally with what we built, and the way I see the interview is, you know, I remember my first interview, I wrote questions, and I was like, okay, and I think it's psychotic which is throw my paper through the windows and say, what you gonna do? And that's where I started to improvise, and through improvisation, I learned that the band don't want to have, you know, straight questions. Like they don't want to see me as a journalist. They want to see me as somebody's passions about the same thing as them, music. And I try to bring them memories and just talk about the thing they fucking love. And it's really working.
You know, you're so right about that. Like what I usually do is like, let's say I have a podcast with somebody. First of all, like I did it a couple times and I don't really like it, where somebody kind of refers somebody to you, says, oh, you should do, you know, my buddies. But really with my podcast, my thing, I'm like, I want to hang out with people, you know what I mean? So I don't want to sound like I'm not a journalist, you know what I mean? I'm just hanging out with people. But that's why like, I like to reach out and choose who I want to spend this time with, because my time's limited as well, you know? And that's one of the things, you know, it's what it is. But I mean, that's one of the things I really enjoyed about it, and I think why I missed doing this when I took my little break, because I was working on all kinds of other projects. But like for me, like I said, it's just hanging out, being curious, wanting to hear what somebody else's journey has been like, or you know what's going on, or maybe learn something. If you prepare and write questions, and I've done so many interviews where somebody's, you know, asking me questions and what is your, you know, it's not interesting. I don't think it's interesting for listeners either. You know what I mean? They want to hear people being real.
It has to be natural. I think that's the whole point of it. You know, the people, what they want to hear or see is people connecting. And to connect with people, you have to find their interest. And it's crazy, but I find it in high school. First day when I was in primary, not in high school, sorry, when I was my first grade as a fucking kid, you know, I was seeing all those kids, and I'm like, okay, my mother maybe will not teach me the right things to know about life, but all those kids, they all know something. So if I spoke with all of them, I'm actually gonna figure out the pieces and the puzzle. So that's what I did. I spoke to every fucking kid that was there and made friends, and people hate me, love me, anything, but I learned a lot, because what I figure out young is that everybody that you meet can teach you something if you ask the right questions.
And you know, what is really cool though, as you're talking, I'm thinking about it, like, yeah, we would do that. Like I like to surround myself with interesting people. You know what I mean? Like, you know, what's that expression? You never want to be the coolest person in the room or at a party. No. Because if you're the coolest person at a party, you're at the wrong fucking party.
There's nothing to learn.
Exactly. So, but what you're saying is going around, and I grew up kind of like that as well, you know, in my family, we always had interesting visitors, you know, and we'd try to learn something from them or something to share or whatever. These days, everybody's the, you know, keyboard warrior, and they're on Facebook and everything's going so fast, but are they really learning or really listening? You know, I think there's something different about reading something for 2 seconds, making an opinion and responding, versus getting the feeling, talking with somebody, knowing what they're saying, not just the words they're using. You know, it's definitely having a big impact on society. And we're seeing it especially during the pandemic when everybody was isolated, right?
Yeah. yeah, we need each other's in weird ways, sometimes negative, sometimes positive. Because there's people in my life that said really negative thing about me, but it pushed me in a positive way to show them they're wrong. So thanks to
That's it.
them, so it's all about, yeah. I love the bad brains. It's all about being the positive attitude, man. Rastafari, man. It's
There you go.
happiness is not it's a quest, but it's simple thing,
Bad brains are amazing. First of all, I have to say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Respect
Did
to
you
HR.
saw the documentary about H and his
No,
mental illness? Oh man.
I knew about it and I've heard it through all kinds of different sources, but I heard
Yeah.
they did do a documentary. I didn't actually see it. Is it a good one or?
Yeah, it really interesting to see how that strong person, it was surreal. It was a superhero of punk rock. And with, it was bringing all those sentences that make you think, that make you just blow your mind and then just leave everything. Nobody knows what really happened when the breakdown start. It was some say drugs, some say it was too much on his shoulders, and he's a crazy soul. Everything was there. It was just a matter of time. But you see him, and you don't really talk about that because the way you see it is his evolution as a human being. And it's really interesting that through mental illness, he find a team of people really help me out. And, he's still doing it. He played a couple of shows with the Bad Brains, but it's really interesting. If you have something to watch, it really get to your soul. That's what I love about him.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely I'll get around to watching it. It's funny. I was just telling my friend at later on this afternoon. He's like, "Oh, dude, you should watch this or check this out." I'm like, man, I find, and it's a great thing because I'm all about sharing what people like, in music stuff. I'm like, if I had to check or watch whatever everybody told me, man, you wouldn't see me for years and years and years. And as soon as I open the door, there'd probably be another list of shit I should check out.
Oh, and you're right. And that's another thing. It's interesting because, I don't play music, but what you
I was
learn.
going to ask you, I didn't know that. That is something I was going to ask you, actually, if you ever played music.
Oh, I always try to sing. I play guitar a little bit, but I was not getting at that good. And life is life.
Yeah, man.
I find my way through the scene in another way. It's interesting in a way, but no, I don't play. But yeah, it's like you take so much time with the band and yourself that, yeah, you don't have the time to listen to a lot of things. So it's funny because Ben, most of the time, I don't have time to play video games. I don't have time to listen movie or watch TV shows and everything. But the pandemic helped me out. I watched a lot of documentary about punk rock. I went crazy at first. I really went through the whole history of punk and roots. And yeah, I had a great time. And now I don't have that time anymore to do that.
Well, some people loved the whole lockdown thing. Sometimes you come across someone, they're like, it's the best time of my life. You know what I mean? Like some people wanted that break and maybe they were able to enjoy it. Of course, it was a fucking terrible time for other people as well. You know? But I mean, everybody lived through it however they did. And, no two-person situation is exactly the same. I found it weird because I got into funny little routines during it, because I'm like, that I was doing like home workouts. I'd attentively listen to one record a day with like good speakers. I'd watch like one movie. I had all these, I would write lyrics, good or bad, to use or not. I just had all these funny routines and lists and stuff like this just to keep me into some kind of routine. Yeah, it was weird. I was so fucking productive. It was crazy.
And it's interesting because, there's people that really stop everything, and me too. I was like, I'm sure you were people that going like 400 miles an hour and everything stopped. And I'm like, oh shit, I have time. What I'm going to fucking do now?
Yeah,
man. You get creative, like you said, and you do things. So yeah, it was the same. It really went fast and surprising. I realized that I'm a social person when it came like a certain moment. But when I'm all alone or with the family, I'm really more quiet and like maybe more boring person, like writing and reading stuff and checking about bands and everything. So in a way, it was natural at some point. So yeah, it's the first month I was really pissed off about everything. I wanted to do like I'm gonna waste years. I'm gonna turn 40. I want to do more things and more and more. And then I fucking say, okay, life want me to just relax, and I relax and I like it.
Yeah, I think that I understand what you mean. I think most people, right when it started, that was where it was kind of fucked up. You know what I mean? Like because everybody's life stopped. We were all the way on the other side of the fucking country, man. We were on tour when we had to come home all of a sudden.
True,
lose all kinds of money.
Yeah. Oh yeah, let's talk about that. It was crazy. So it happens, I think, like March 13, 14, when everything kind of, oh, we have to close everything down now. But
Yeah.
it was slowly happening through December and January. But you guys were on tour. How was it, and how you got caught in that?
Well, it's because like how we're talking about before life, like I can be on tour or like I tell our booking agents, Alex, Matt, best people in the world. If I'm not doing at least like 2 weekends of shows a month, at least when I'm not on tour, I'm not happy. I have to stay busy, and that's one of the reasons I do what I do. Like I'm not a kind of guy, like if I'm feeling stagnant, I don't feel well. So we had put out the Stand With Youth album. We did one tour. It was us and the Smashers. They put out too much communication, so we did a double launching tour. Then we came home. Then we did another tour, and we had problems with the States, so we had to come home through that. But then we had just signed with with Covert out in the States. They do gutter mouth coasters and all these guys.
Yes.
Yeah, so they were gonna start helping us, and we just did. We bought our permits for the States, and it's not cheap. That's a whole fucking subject of discussion right there. The whole, how much Canadian bands play in the States and American bands to come here. But that's a whole other discussion right there for like 2 hours. But so we just started working with Covert, and we'd only done like 2 shows in the States, and that's when everything was just opening up. Everything was going great. The new album was really doing well, and we started playing in the States, and that was it. And then it was like, stop.
Shit.
Yeah, it was something, man. But then it was like also, what do you do? How long is this going to last? Is it going to be fun? Remember at the start, some people thought it would be 3 weeks and we're back. You know what I mean? But we're a long way from
days.
That. Right.
28
exactly.
days.
28 days.
Oh yeah, I
Jesus.
remember. Yeah. Goddamn, just 28 days.
Well,
yeah,
that's
crazy.
It was fucking nuts. And then then it's like, we talked. What do you do? We did a couple of those online, videos, but it was fun to do a couple. Okay. But I wouldn't want to do a lot more of that for sure. It gets, it's not why I do music, to do that, for lack of a better answer.
Even I spoke with the Dropkick Murphys, and they did like 3 kind of streaming show. It was maybe the most popular was one when they do at the Red Sox stadium.
Exactly, yeah, in the baseball stadium there. It was great.
And that's what that was just saying. Like, it's cool, but man, we want to see people. We don't want to do that anymore. And they did.
It's like that whole cliche. How many times have you done an interview with a band where they're talking about how they feed off the energy of the crowd? That's what we were living. Like,
fucking one, man.
The pandemic tested that theory, and it's fucking true. What I mean? It's really true. So it's weird. So So then all that happened. So then we're like, time's going on. We did a video. Okay, that was cool. And Hero for Death Ray, we did that one as well. And then we're like, what do we do? So we started recording a new album, but at the same time, I don't want to release it too fast either. We just sabotaged an album and everything was going fantastic. Do I want to put out an album right now? Like, it is like, we just booked a cross-Canadian tour. But even to today, I was like, is it really going to happen? But now I'm like, okay, it's happening there. But I didn't, a week ago, I would have told you it's 50-50. I don't know. You know what I mean? So it's this like, I want to do one tour before putting out a new album, you know, kind of get back, where were we? You know what I mean? Get back there and then kind of go again. But it's been one hell of a fucking adventure, that's for sure.
I throw the idea. It's a masterpiece. You should play it in fucking entire.
Yeah,
like,
man.
Getting like, okay, we got screwed with the pandemic. Now we're gonna play the whole fucking record. If it's in something possible, I would love to see that.
Yeah, like I don't know exactly what we're gonna do, but I just want to be exactly where we were before putting out a new album. Because like I'm just worried, and some bands did it too, where they thought the pandemic was kind of ending, and then they put out an album, and then pandemic's longer. Because if I put out an album, I want to be playing live. I am a musician. Yes, I like being creative, home alone. Yes, I like recording. But anybody that knows me, like I'm born to be on the fucking road, and I got to be playing shows. Yeah, you know what I mean? And that's what I do. And if I'm not doing that, I ain't really happy, you know.
It's cool. And in another way, you know, with the records, it ain't gonna stop you. You can release a single with I don't know, some tracks you didn't put on the records, or a cover, or just keep people, you know, because that's the thing now. I call like the social media the monster. You always have to feed the monster. Yeah. So when you release the record, you feed the monster, and then 6 months later, people ask, what are you guys all about? We released the records. When? 6 months ago. Oh, that's a long fucking time. No, that's not. So, you know, you can play. It's a garden now. So, yeah, you can still have the records ready, but play and just like release something. Or, you know, I'm sure there's crazy idea in your head right now, and just
you know
like, people do, and just like and still be ready when everything's gonna be back to play. The last record isn't fucking entire.
Right? The day will come. The day will come. That's for sure. But it's funny, you know, like I think we did the right thing. But I mean, what is the right thing? And it could all fall apart tomorrow too. But here we are. We've done 5 shows. At the end of October, we're going to do a cross-Canadian tour all the way out to Victoria. I don't know how many bands are doing a tour right now, but we're doing it. Yeah. We're doing it right starting the 20th of October.
And that's another thing that I impress, you know, by you guys and the band that cover Canada. It's geographically impossible to be a wealthy band touring in Canada. The distance are way too long. It's not Europe. You went to Europe. Like if you want to go to Sweden, Germany, or Italy, or France, it's you can do like a run where you play 3 nights in Sweden, 2 nights in Italy, and just like getting some money. But in Canada, like what the fuck?
Yeah, we're lucky because we have a great team with us, and because we've done it so much, we've done a lot of groundwork, and like we have a lot of friends in every city in Canada. You know, because that's what we do. You know, and I got to go see my people and hang out and go fucking say, hey, how you doing? Let's party for a night. And after the party, I'm going to fucking check in on you again and say how you've been hanging out. You know, I mean, it becomes your people after a while, you know, and I really miss my fucking people.
And that's another thing. You realize it real quick. You know, it's kind of the same thing with the radio. You bring people and you want to keep them. So you make them part of the family. And that's the thing with K-Man. You know, it's and it's an honor, you know, it's playing you guys, but being friends with you. It's so cool to see you grow up as musician, but as human being, it's incredible. You guys are amazing. And that's why I'm still doing it, man. It's for people that, you know, bring something. And that's what you do, you know, you bring a lot of joy, a lot of happiness too. There's not every songs are happy. People think ska songs are just about being happy. No.
Yeah, wait till the new album comes out. You know, the pandemic was rough. You know, actually, I'll tell you a secret. On the new album, there's gonna be a song called "Really Happy Music."
Wow.
Yeah,
and it's all about that.
We'll see.
But the thing is that you help people. Repeat myself. We mention it, but it's therapy. The live and you know the record and everything. So congratulations for still doing it.
Fucking A. And congratulations to you to 13 years, man. That's fucking awesome. You're a lifer. Like a lot of musician friends I know. You've been around since, 13 years, you know what I mean? And that's a hell of a long time. And you look as passionate as ever. And I love it. Hey, listen, we've been talking for an hour about, all right, so we're going to have to cut it because I do have a limited space of recording. But before we leave, this is what I think you should do. All right. You've listened to a lot of music and you're very passionate about music, and we're all about sharing music. I like to end my show with, can you name me 5 records that everybody should listen to at least once?
Oh, shit. The new Joystick Records. I'm sorry, I don't remember the title by heart, but the new Joystick Records. It's available on Stomp Records. They did like a tag team with a label there. Joystick, go watch them. I don't want to throw one record, but the Bennies, it's a ska band too. They're amazing, really great band. If you like folk music, go listen to the new Ramjack Records. It's called Asia. It's crazy. It's one of my favorite right now. And just because I love Face to Face, go listen to the new Face to Face. I listen to it a lot those days. It's a great records. And go listen to every goddamn K-Man and the 45 records.
Right on, brother. It's great seeing your face, and we'll see you out there real soon. More shows are coming. We both know this. Love you too,
Let's
brother.
do that again. There's so many things to talk. Kristen,
anytime. I love you too, man.
Love you.
Yes, absolutely. We'll see you real soon, right? Go have a drink out at a terrace soon. Later, brother.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man.
Boom! K-Man don't know shit.
I might not know shit, but